Guys, welcome back to Pro Gun. If you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate that. Today we're going to talk about the difference between the 9mm and the .45 ACP. Yes, the great caliber debate. This caliber debate has been going on forever, and it'll continue to go on forever. When I start going through some of these gun forums and I watch these threads, and it's moronic to say one is better than the other. I'm going to give you my thoughts and the pros and cons on both of these, but it's not an issue of what's better. It's what may be more preferable. We'll start off with the 9mm. 9mm is a NATO round. It is a light bullet, and it's a very fast-moving bullet. The 9mm travels at about 1,250 feet per second, and it leaves a smaller hole. The .45 ACP is a heavier bullet, a bigger bullet, but it's much slower. It travels at about 850 feet per second. So what does that mean regarding stopping power? Well, being that the .45 ACP is a bigger bullet, what that means is it leaves a bigger wound cavity. And all that means is that the assailant will eventually expire due to blood loss because of the .45 ACP. The 9mm, being that it's faster and lighter, penetrates a little deeper. What that means is that the 9mm will penetrate the vital organs a little bit better than the .45 ACP. Now, some of the advantages of the 9mm are that magazine capacity, number one. Okay, most guns that are chambered in 9mm accommodate between 10 and 19 rounds. Versus the .45 ACP, you usually get between 7 and 10, and that's about it. For home defense, the .45 has a slight edge only because it's a slower moving bullet, and you don't have the issue of overpenetration that you may have with the 9mm. Now, a lot of people are going to argue that 9mm is the best because that's what the FBI uses. Well, that's not why the FBI uses the 9mm. They use the 9mm because of capacity, right? Typically, 15 to 19 rounds versus 8 to 10. That's one reason. The main reason that the FBI uses the 9mm is because Glock sells their 9mm pistols to law enforcement and government agencies at such a stupid price that no other manufacturer is willing to do that. That is why they use the Glock. Now, once the FBI adopted the Glock, all the other government agencies and law enforcement agencies followed suit, and they went with the Glock. Well, after that happened, the civilians want what the cops have, so they bought 9mm. Now, the 9mm guns are less expensive than .45 ACP because they're smaller, they're lighter, and the parts cost less to manufacture. A major benefit of the 9mm is the recoil is much less than the .45. So if you're a new shooter, a 9mm is definitely much easier to use and handle than a .45 ACP, especially with follow-up and subsequent shots. It's much easier to keep a 9mm on target after firing multiple shots than the .45 ACP. Now, the .45 ACP argument is, well, it won 2 world wars. Yeah, it did. But one thing to keep in mind is that when the military used the .45 ACP, it was designed to put down enemies on the battlefield. So they used this big heavy round because out on the battlefield, it would take them down. However, the 45 ACP was not designed to be shooting at bad guys that are strung out on meth, possibly wearing body armor. And that's where the 9mm comes in, is because the penetration on the 9mm will do more damage to vital organs than the 45 ACP. But you can bitch and moan and complain and argue which one is best all day long. And the bottom line comes down to shot placement and what you're comfortable with. You can be proficient with any cartridge if you spend enough time at the range. However, even though I'm not a huge fan of the 9mm, and it's not because there's anything wrong with it. When I was a kid and my daddy taught me how to shoot, I learned how to shoot a 45 ACP and a 357 Magnum. So I just felt much more comfortable with that. However, if you're a new shooter and you pick up a 9mm, you could just pretty much be efficient with it right out of the box. There's very little recoil, as opposed to the 45 is going to take some training. So what makes the 9mm more appealing is capacity, low recoil, and the gun itself is lighter. You can carry a 9mm with 15 rounds all day long. You carry a 45 ACP with 8 to 10 rounds all day long, especially in 1911, and you're going to feel like you got a boat anchor on your hip. So if I had to compare the two of these, I would say the 9mm is more preferable because of the low recoil and the weight and ammo availability. Because it's a NATO round, 9mm ammo is cheaper than 45 ACP. So in my view, I would say the 9mm is a more preferable cartridge, but I wouldn't say it's better. There is no better. But I do find it peculiar that, all of the new gun manufacturers out there, every time there's a new gun produced, it's only in 9mm. It's very rare that you see a new gun being manufactured in 45 or 10mm. And what that tells me is because what the masses are carrying is 9mm, so they're going to cater to the masses. I hope this video helps. Again, there is no better. The best caliber to have is the one you shoot best. Thanks for watching.